Hi boys and girls. Okay, we are going to be talking about lines today. And so this is kind of a review from last year, but if you remember, there are lots of different kinds of lines. So there's straight lines, and then if you break that straight line in half, you get like a dashed line. You could do dotted lines. The straight line could be going the other way, and an up and down one like this would be a perpendicular line. You could do those. You could do diagonal lines this way, diagonal lines this way, and if you put those two together, you get a zigzag line, right? Because it's a diagonal this way, then a diagonal that way. Diagonal, 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 diagonal. You could do wavy lines, and this is a big loose wave, or you could do really tight wavy lines. You could do loopy lines where you just keep doing the loop the same way, or you could do curly lines where you loop one way and then you loop another way. So these are kind of just curl around, don't they? Or twirly lines. You could even call this a swirl, right? You do a spiral or a swirl. You could do those. You could do a what I call a castle line where you have a straight line that goes up, over, down, over, up, over, down, over, up, over, down, over. It's just kind of like, almost like you're going to make a box, but instead you keep going. Or curved lines where you curve up and then you curve under, curve up, curve under. All of these are different types of lines, and there's actually way more lines than what I'm showing here, but this is just an example to get you thinking, okay? We're going to set that aside, and today we're going to be using our leftover markers. We're going to use up this cool liquid watercolor that we've created by recycling our old dried out markers, okay? So what you do is just going to take your dropper, and I'm going to move this over just a little bit so it doesn't get wet. You're going to dip it in, and you have to squeeze it and then release while it's still under the paint, right? And then just make any kind of lines you want. You can do swirling, twirling lines. You can do dotted lines. And the more you squeeze, the bigger the dots are going to be, right? If you do a great big dot, you could always just drag the paint away like this. And look, I'm doing some diagonal lines. I could do wavy lines. Just have fun with it. Make all different kinds of lines on your paper. I'm going to do more dots. I think the dots were kind of fun. Okay, dashed line. This is really endless. You could just fill this whole paper up with different kinds of lines. Let's see, I haven't tried any swirls, have I? I'm going to try to make a swirl. Ooh, it's a little harder than I thought because it wants to break apart. So I guess I'm having a dashed swirl line. Maybe if I turn it sideways. Oh yeah. Okay, so experiment with the different directions. When I tip this to the side, I have a little bit more control, like it's a pencil. If I do it like this, it's better for the dots. Right? So maybe experiment with that. I'm just having fun with all the different lines I can create. Ooh, that one's definitely a dashed line, and then I'm starting to run out, which is kind of cool because it's doing different kinds of lines. Okay, I've even got a bubble on there. I'll have to wait and see what happens with that bubble. All right, one other thing that you can do once you're done, we're going to put that back in there, but when you're done, when you carry this to the drying rack, see all those little puddles of paint? Those are going to run if you tip this at all, which actually is kind of fun, but you're going to want to have your messy mat for sure underneath. So I don't actually have, I have this black paper, but I'm going to just pause this for a minute. Okay, I'm going to very carefully just move this to the side because earlier when I did this, I'm going to show you what happened when I had it on a messy mat like this. I did a couple other ones, and I actually had taken this and I picked it up and it started to drip, and so I thought, cool, and I dripped it all over that paper, right? Well, the drips on this paper, actually when I picked them up, they were running, so I kind of tipped my paper, and I used my messy mat as a way to catch all that, right? Look at how interesting my messy mat is. But I'm really interested in these. So this could be what you end up with, right? You could have lines that you didn't even expect, because what happened here is the paint wanted to stay on the lines that I'd already drawn. So let me show you with this one that we just did what will happen if we tip it, okay? So you could just keep it really flat like this if you like where your lines are. Or you could explore tipping it and seeing what happens. And if you tip it different directions, oops, sorry, I guess I'm not under the camera. If you dip it different directions, it'll run different directions. So if I tip it and wiggle it, I can get it to kind of go down my wavy lines. Okay, there it is going off the side there. Kind of fun. If I shake it a little bit, it'll go even more. And then I know these haven't decided to run. I probably waited a while, so they aren't running anywhere, which I thought they actually would, but that's kind of cool, isn't it? If you ended up with a great big blob and you didn't like it, you can take just the tip of this with no paint and you can pull the paint out of that big line. Okay, if you think you want to make some thinner lines, you just drag paint from the thicker lines and it'll make you some thinner lines. Oh, I really like those close together lines. I didn't have any of those. I like that it's different than the thick lines. So this is really relaxing and fun, and hopefully you guys will have fun creating different kinds of lines today. Okay,